So I can confidently say, I know that subluxations kill people. I know they do because it happened to me. And I'm going to tell you a real quick story that totally solidified in my mind the idea that subluxation is a devastating condition on human health. I'm a father of 4 boys. My second son, Carter, got into motocross years ago. And it was an exciting, exhilarating sport, and he loved the adrenaline. He was always an adrenaline junkie. If it had something that was death-defying to it, Carter would want to try it. He would want to do it. Skydiving, that was his thing. So he got into motocross, and he actually got quite good at it. So we were fully engaged in motocross for a few years. We would, go out and service bikes, and we'd get them to the track, and we'd be at different tracks, and he would get into racing and so on. Well, all the dads that were taking their kids around to the different tracks, many of them, instead of sitting around at the camper or sitting around at the truck all day, would also have a motocross bike. So I decided I was going to partake. So I got a motocross bike, and the bike was much more powerful than what I needed or what I could really handle at the time. Well, sure enough, I actually got into it and started riding and started racing. Well, I have this competitive instinct. I've always been heavily involved in sports, and I love the competition. I love, performance, and I love bettering myself, and I love competing head on head against, whether it's with a team atmosphere or one-on-one. So any sport that I get involved in, I want to get good at. I want to get good so I can compete and be at the top level. Well, motocross is a type of sport that if you're competing, there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of danger. And of course, that was not my thinking at the time. Well, sure enough, first race of the season back in 2013, I'm in the first heat, the very first heat of the very first race. And sure enough, we get off to a fast start, and I'm racing, and next thing I know, the race is about maybe 8 laps of the track, and I'm on the second to last lap, and I'm thinking I'm in the top 4 or 5 guys here, and I end up passing a couple of guys on the second last lap. So I'm on the last lap of the race, and I find myself in 3rd place, and I can see the 2 leaders, the 2 guys ahead of me. I can see them, and I'm thinking I still have time to catch them. This is what's going through my mind. Well, sure enough, there's one big jump on this track. It's the main jump on the track. And honestly, I shouldn't have been taking it. I didn't have enough skill to take this jump. It was probably 60 feet long, and I had to get pretty much in 4th gear, almost pinned at the throttle, and to try to get over the end of this track. Well, sure enough, I'm trying to catch these guys, and I decided I'm hitting this jump, and I pinned it. Well, I didn't have enough speed. I ended up landing short, what we call casing the jump. I ended up slipping forward. My head went forward. I slipped on the throttle and the bike did a wheelie. And then as I came down on the downslope of the jump, I ended up falling over the handlebars. I landed flat on the top of my head. Long story short, I broke my neck. The race was stopped. The day was basically shot because I was lying in the middle of the track. They had to call the ambulance in. Long story short, I ended up going to the hospital. I had an MRI, a CAT scan. I was on a spinal board, 4 fractured vertebrae in my neck, C4, C6, C7, T1. Severe fractures. In fact, C7 was shattered to the point where the radiologist that read the CT scan said that there was 32 different fracture segments. Both pedicles were broken. So when both pedicles are broken, the anterior and posterior elements are completely disarticulated. So easily, those bones could have shifted and gone into my spinal cord. I could have been either killed, dead, or completely paralyzed, quadriplegic. At the time, I had no feeling in my hands and feet. That didn't come back for about 24 hours. I was pumped up on morphine and drugs in the hospital because I was in so much pain. So I was out of it for the first few days. Well, I was transported to a different center, which was almost an hour away, by ambulance. My wife was there. My family was there. This was the next day. And the surgeon came to my wife and said, "Your husband's very, very lucky." And during that conversation, of course, I was out of it at the time, under medication. And she had said, the surgeon said, "I understand that you and your husband are both chiropractors." And she said, "Yes." he actually said, and this is the chief of surgery of Hamilton Health Sciences, which is a major trauma center for Southern Ontario. He actually said to my wife, he said, chiropractic care saved your husband's life. He said he had a perfect cervical lordotic curve in his spine, and because he had a perfect cervical lordotic curve, the impact of that crash that caused the fracture, the curve prevented his C7 vertebrae from exploding. He said there are so many fracture segments in that vertebrae, it should have exploded. It's almost like when a stone hits your windshield and the windshield shatters, but the windshield stays in perfect place. That windshield should have shattered and gone everywhere, in which case he would have been dead. He said chiropractic care actually saved your husband's life. He said his spine is in, even though it's severely damaged, there's so many fractures, if we just brace it, he goes, there's no need for us to do surgery. If we just brace it and give it time, God can heal this faster than I can. I get shivers every time I talk about that. That to me was the deciding factor that I need to share this principle with as many people as possible. I knew way before that chiropractic care saves lives. I'd seen it happen in my practice. I'd seen people come in with severe, life-threatening illnesses, get under chiropractic care, get their lifestyle right, and see them heal because their body was just functioning better. Not because chiropractic healed them, but because we removed the interference. And I know that because I was under regular chiropractic care and I had great spinal alignment, that saved my life. So subluxations do kill people. Chiropractic care does transform lives. And I want to share that with as many people as possible.